But first of all, wanted to welcome everybody to day 4 of our 4-part assistive technology resources and funding series brought to you by the APT-AT program. We have Jessica McKay is with us today, and she'll share a little bit more on the APT-AT program at the end of the session today. For those that missed the sessions earlier this week, we had awesome presentations from different state agencies that discussed their programs that have assistive technology resources and potential funding options. Those were a Department of Rehab Services, the Alabama Department of Senior Services, and the Department of Mental Health were our first 3 sessions, and those will be online at some point for those that missed it and would like to see those. There's someone in the waiting room. Let me add. There we go.
I got it. Don't worry about it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So for today, we have part 4 of our series, which is our community partners. We have Ashley Ferry, Executive Director of the Hank Poor Foundation. We have Kathy and Hank Poor, founders of the Hank Poor Foundation, as one of our community partners today. Lane Hagan, the Executive Director of Libby's Friends, is with us, as well as Leanne Hinton with Individual Family Supports of Alabama. We thank everyone for attending, and we thank our community partners for taking the time today to share a little bit more about their organization. So thanks to everyone for making this happen today. That being said, I will turn it over to Ashley and Kathy and Hank with the Hank Poor Foundation.
Thank you. I'm excited to see everybody here online. I am Ashley Ferry. I am from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and I'm the Executive Director of the Hank Poor Foundation. The Hank Poor Foundation has a mission to provide opportunities and experiences for people with disabilities, which will foster authentic connections between individuals, groups, and community. We were formed in 2020, which is a great year to form a nonprofit. Inspired by Hank, who you see below. Hank is a 23-year-old man with cerebral palsy, and he has defied the odds and every doctor's expectation of him throughout his life. He's participated in various challenging athletic and recreational and sports events, marathon, snow skiing, water skiing, cycling, you name it. Hank has done it all. And when he graduated high school, his family and friends realized that he had a lot of opportunities that other people may not have the means to avail themselves of. And so our goal through this organization, and particularly with our individual grants, we also have community grants and an educational aspect of our foundation, but our main goal with our individual grants is to get people with disabilities out in the community, active, visible, participating, and competing or enjoying outdoor recreation to enhance their lives, but also to enhance the lives of their community and to increase our visibility. So that is kind of in a nutshell that are eligible for funding under our individual grants. Those would be things like adapted sports equipment. So sports wheelchairs, adaptive kayaks, beach wheelchairs. If your family needs, funding to rent a beach wheelchair for the week, that would be a great item for us to provide grant funding for. Anything really that would get someone with a disability out and more active in the community and, provide them opportunities for athletics or recreation that they would not otherwise have. Those are things that we really focus on. So I'm going to turn it over to Hank and Kathy and let them take over and answer some other questions.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Kathy Poor. This is Hank. Ashley did a great job introducing who we are and just why we have the passion that we have for our nonprofit and for just our really strong belief that people with disabilities so many times are just kind of invisible. They're in their homes, they're struggling to make it day to day with just the basic necessities. So we were really just hoping to provide an outlet and a way for people to enjoy some of the things that most of us take for granted. So as far as who qualifies for our funding grants, we do have 3 types of grants. We have individual grants, we have business grants, and we have community grants. And today we were just going to focus on our individual grants. Essentially, if you live in the state of Alabama, you qualify. We do have we give a preference to people in Tuscaloosa or West Alabama, but we have given grants to a young man in Auburn, a young man in Mobile. We're about to give a chair to Troy University for their Arboretum. So we really do serve the entire state. So go ahead and apply no matter where you are in the state of Alabama for our grants. Hank will tell you a little bit about what to do if you want to apply, what you need to do.
To apply for our grants, go to our website, www.hankpoorfoundation.org, and click on Grant Requests. The application is fast and easy. Our board of directors meets quarterly to review the applications.
And I do want to add to that, we do have a question on our grant application, whether it's a time-sensitive request. And we try very, very hard just to approve grant requests every quarter. But we also understand that if it's something like a family trip to the beach and you want a beach wheelchair, that you might need to get that quicker than we will meet. So that is why we do have that question about time-sensitive requests. So we do make exceptions for those.
All right.
We had a question in the chat that I answered, but somebody asked if we provide funding for ramps, and that is not something we do typically, just because there are other organizations out there that kind of cover that, and we're trying to sort of cover an area that's not already funded in other ways. So that would not be something we typically fund. And you can find us at our website, like that Hank shared with you earlier, as well as on Facebook and Instagram. We're pretty active with those. So, and if you want more information or have questions, you can reach out to me. That's my email.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Ashley, Kathy, and Hank. We really appreciate you sharing information about your organizations. And again, the information is posted in the chat as well as on the presentation here.
Thank you.
That being said, we'll turn it over to Lane and tell us a little bit more about Libby's Friends.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Lane Hagan, and I am the executive director of Libby's Friends. With that, I'm also Libby's dad. And we started Libby's Friends very similarly to the Poors. We started in 2020. And our mission is to ease the financial burden for those living with a disability. And the way we do that is we help both children and adults with a disability with medical equipment and devices and therapy cost. Libby is the reason that we started it. We went through a lot with her in her early days that just the costs were insurmountable at times, and I just saw a really big need, and I started working on this note on my phone that kind of turned into the birth of Libby's Friends, which was the first of 2020, and then we got slowed down a little bit because of COVID, and then we officially got off the ground in August of 2020, and we are a statewide organization. We are able to help people in all corners of the state. We have been pretty successful with that. The majority of our grants are provided in like the Birmingham, Huntsville, Gadsden, Anniston area, but we are able to help anybody and everybody in the state that has a disability. I think we try to stay in our 3 lanes specifically of medical equipment, medical devices, and then therapy costs. We do a lot of like orthotics and prosthetics, and then we do a lot of seating apparatuses. We have done a few ramps. I saw that question for Hank and for Ashley, and we've done a few ramps. We don't get a lot of requests for them. I think, like Ashley said, there are other organizations that focus more on that. But it is one of those things we consider. We do a lot of communication devices. A lot of speech therapists will reach out and tell us, hey, you know, this family has this need. This speech device is $5,000 and they need help with it. So we have just worked with a lot of therapists and speech therapists that will adapt an iPad and turn it into a communication device. And it's something that we can do usually for probably less than $1,000, and we can do it in about a week. And it's just that the lag time of waiting for the manufacturing of that is just not there. So we're able to work pretty quickly in regards to that. I think who qualifies for our funding grants, anybody in the state of Alabama with a disability. We are not age specific. We've helped as young as a few weeks to, I think we've helped some individuals in their 50s. So anybody with a diagnosis that we can assist with a disability, we're happy to do it. We do have a website. The website is libby'sfriends.org. There's an application online, and you fill an option. We have 5 items. We can just verify everything, just to fact check everything. And once we receive both the application and the verification items, we usually are able to process our applications within 24 to 48 hours. We kind of prioritize like getting them back out the door. Both my wife and I, we kind of learned like what is approved, what isn't approved by insurance. And if we have questions, we reach out to board members and people that are more familiar with these day-to-day items. And we just verify that, you know, if it is something that can be run through insurance, we do it. And if it's something that's not covered or considered, you know, a luxury item or whatever insurance will say, you know, we move on and don't hold them up.
That's great.
And then this is my contact information. I try to be very available. You can call, get a lot of calls. You can email, and then we are very active on social media as well, both Instagram and Facebook, just like Hank Poor. And yeah, I think that's it. I did see one question pop up.
The question is there a financial eligibility requirement?
No. We do require financial information be sent in. That is just something that I use to say, hey, there is a financial strain in the home with the family having to purchase this item, and I can use that information to just verify and say, hey, like, yes, we can pick up this bill for you, or with the equipment provided for you.
Okay. Got it. Lane, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you so much, Lane, for sharing that information. We really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having
Wanted
me.
to move on with Leanne. If you wanted to share a little bit more about Individual and Family Support of Alabama.
Hi, I'm Leanne Hinton, and I have begun volunteering with Individual and Family Support of Alabama. We are a bit of a different charitable organization in that we were created by state law. And we are funded through a line item on the budget of Alabama Department of Mental Health. So we have some bureaucracy that we have to go through, but we are operated by volunteer families of disabled. Anyone who is working with individual and family support must have a disabled individual in their family, their immediate family. And this helps us to build a network with other parents across the state. We cover any developmental disability. If we go to the next slide, there, that's my son. He's 6'2", and I put Santa on there so you could see that's them in front of the Christmas tree, which you can't see the Christmas tree. So that gives you an idea. If you'll go to the next. This goes into who we cover, who we serve. Our clients usually are affected before the age of 22, unless it's a traumatic brain injury. And we cover, I don't know, I think I've got a list over here of, we have just about every developmental disability you can consider, plus another category for things like chromosomal issues. Next slide. So what we do is the goal of our organization. It was brought together by a grassroots movement in Alabama, and in the law, what we are doing is we are doing things to facilitate people staying and living with their families in home, or families of one in group homes to live and be able to be in the community. So in this case with assistive technologies, we can cover the cost of assistive technologies. We can also help cover the cost of specialized training. We can help with therapies, personal care, and we have 22 categories that we can cover. The idea is that basically we could work in tandem with Hank's Foundation or Libby's Friends and help a family in need get the full spectrum that they have to have for their individual who needs to communicate with all of us. Next slide. Now, this is where we get complicated. As I said, we are funded by a line item budget through the Alabama Department of Mental Health. We can also do some fundraising on the side. We are a 501c3, but because the money is given to us in an annual budget and then allotted monthly, we have to work within that monthly budget, and anything left from the previous month builds. So towards the end of the year, sometimes we have more funds available than we would at the beginning of the year. Consumers may apply once per fiscal year. Our fiscal year runs from October to the end of September. And it's per individual and family. Some friends of mine who have kids with spina bifida, they had 2 children with spina bifida. So each of those children would be eligible to apply within 1 fiscal year. So they may apply early and they may apply late. And as for ramps, that is something that we can help fund. And for the person who asked that, I just funded, it was a portable ramp that could go up to 12 feet. It was amazing. It was a foldable metal portable ramp. So that if that's something you're interested in, please hit me up. I've got my email at the end of this. Next slide. Okay, so here we have who we serve, and kind of we have to verify the disability. So we have a questionnaire that's the second page of my application. I wish we had a website, Heather. I really do. We're working on it, but I've got some contact info for you. But here we have, we need an Alabama state provider. And that can be not necessarily because we know doctors, it's difficult with HIPAA to get them to disclose certain things, but doctors, teachers, case managers, therapists, if they're state licensed and they will say, yes, this person has these limitations in their life, and then put their signature and their contact information to it, then we can verify that they are indeed disabled and qualified for these state funds. And if you ever have a question, or if you're having difficulty getting that, just call us. We have, because we're divided up as the Alabama Department of Mental Health, we have 5 regions in the state. Jefferson County is in Region 5. Our state chair is in Region 3, and his region actually created a website. It's just not everyone's website. We're kind of like the 50 states. We all have our own thing, but we try to get along under the umbrella of individual and family support. So just contact me and I'll get you the contact you need to get the help. But the board that you would go to would be the county of the resident, or the residents of the client in that county. So Walker County has a different representative and a different budget. Shelby County, all of these are going to have different areas, or different people who serve the area. But you will be put in contact with a local volunteer who will process your claim and talk to you about your needs. Last slide. That's my contact information. That FAM support, the QR code will take you to the website. We do not have a Facebook page as of yet. We are not on a unified application through the state. I do have an application that's been simplified recently and approved, and it would be honored in most of the regions. So you are welcome to contact me for an application and for contact information, and we'll get you to the right people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I did have a question that I posted. Sometimes, and at least folks that I've helped, often it's a requirement that a physician's prescription is okay. Is that something that's okay for your organization?
Kevin, actually, a prescription is not required.
Okay.
We do have a checklist that is required. If you Google Alabama Individual and Family Support and state law, you'll see where it's part of the state law that we have to verify these specific items. So we have a checklist of items, and then if they'll mark that they are disabled in a significant way in these areas, and then sign that, that's all we need. Because we don't have any way to verify prescription paper or pads, anything like that.
Gotcha. I was trying to align that with kind of the process that I've seen with the Department of Mental Health and kind of the steps that they require, and physician's prescription, it is one of those requirements.
Yeah. This is just, it's a very, I think it's been updated one time so that we are released from liability. But it is definitely very constricted by the law and how it was written. So we have to stick to that specific bullet list.
Gotcha.
And that's another thing I wanted to say. It is not based on your financial, what do you call that? It's not based on your financial income. It's not based on your wealth assessment, but it is in competition. Basically, each month, all of the applications that we get, we have to weigh and allot amounts according to our budgets. And some of those applications are for something as simple as food or clothing or help with a utility bill. And it's heart-wrenching at times. But when we do have the funds available, we want to enable all of our citizens, all of our people with disabilities to have the fullest life possible.
Oh, that's great. If someone is on either like a community waiver that's funded by the Department of Mental Health or one of the legacy waivers from the Department of Mental Health, can they receive services from you at the same time as that?
Yes.
And can those work together?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that would not disqualify you. Anything that you're on as far as services like that would not disqualify the person.
Oh, that's incredible. That's great.
Yeah, yeah.
That
And
is-
we can do
that's
it
great.
each year in
Mhm.
small increments. But it's just, sometimes people need assistance with therapies or
Mhm.
family training. It also covers advocacy training, self-advocacy training. So if we have for instance, Hank, if he wanted to attend a seminar for how to advocate for himself in a public platform, then we might be able to help with that.
Mhm.
It wouldn't be restricted because of his family's financial resources or
Mhm.
any waiver he would be on, or
Okay.
anyone else for that matter. Hank, I'm just using you because you're so handsome. You're a great
Mhm.
example.
Mhm. Gotcha. This is great information. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me check the chat real quick and see if there are any other questions that are out there. I'm not seeing any. But for those on the call, please feel free to add those in. But at this point, I'll turn it over to Jessica. And Jessica, do you mind giving us an overview and of the APT-AT program?
Sure. I feel like because we keep seeing, we were talking yesterday about all our OGs showing up and being a part of this. I feel like I should start quizzing people, but maybe it'll all stick after 4 days. So thank you, everyone. We were thrilled to have this series to bring this information forward to everyone. So hopefully you're all learning a lot. I hope you are seeing a screen that says accessing potential through assistive technology. And it has a picture of, this is actually AI generated, of a person sitting in front of their laptop and seated in their wheelchairs. Is that what's on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I did a good
Yeah.
job. Excellent. All right. So who are we? We are APT-AT. We are a program of the Alabama Department of Rehab Services, and we serve as our state's Assistive Technology Act program. So again, we are a federally funded program. We are one of 56 programs in the states and territories that do a variety of services. And so I'll give you the spiel on those. So we provide a variety of services, and really our job is to help expand people's knowledge, awareness, access and acquisition of assistive technology. So we do that through a variety of services that includes our DME reuse, or our durable medical equipment reuse, trainings and information and resources, excuse me, and then also our short-term loans and our demonstrations. And I'll kind of walk through each of these through these next slides. So our short-term loans, that's one of our biggest programs, and I think one of the greatest ways for us to impact people and being able to know more about assistive technology and learn about it. We have a lending library. It is getting full to the brim for those who have visited our offices here, but we have a library that is full of a variety of assistive technology equipment that is available for everyone to check out for up to 30 days. There is no cost to you to check these items out. And they could be for a variety of reasons that you want to try out this different type of assistive technology. It could be part of your decision making. So if you are working with a service provider and trying to determine what type of assistive technology you need, a lot of times, especially when you're looking at some of more state or government funding, they always want, or insurance always want to have proof of this is the right device for you before we spend money. And it's hard for people to do that if they don't have a device on hand to try first. So we try to have a wide variety of things that hopefully can help you make those decisions. And then also too, especially if you're having to pay any of it out of pocket, or contacting one of these great resources that we had talk with us today, you want to make sure that that investment is going towards the right thing. It could be also for temporary accommodations. So maybe you are going to be at a job site for just a short period of time. Maybe it's just, a short-term gig, but you're going to need, maybe an alternative keyboard or alternative seating. Maybe you had an injury. And so you're not necessarily going to need a motorized wheelchair, scooter, like our Firefly, or a grab bar. But, you're going to need it for a little bit, but not forever, right? So that's a great way for us to assist with that. Loaners during device repair. So sometimes, it's tech, it likes to break. So maybe you are waiting to get your personal device repaired or replaced, and we can help try to fill in that gap to make sure you still have access. And then also just professional development. One of the greatest things that we could do is just let people know all the different types of the AT that are out there, and especially for service providers to just check out stuff. They may not even have anybody in mind. I always love when we'll have some service providers that like to just kind of visit us about once a month or so, check to see what new stuff we've got, because they want to be more informed. So that way, when they're working with their clients, they can, have some more ideas for them. And then, of course, you can see all of our devices that are available for checkout at our website. I'm going to put that up at the end, which is our al.atforall.com. We have a question about hand controls. I don't think we have any right now, but if you want to send us an email, and we'll give you that email address at the end as well. If there's something specific you're looking for, just let us know if you don't see it in the inventory, and we can go from there. So I just wanted to show a few library examples here. And I was trying to mix up some pictures based off of who was talking today, and then also just trying to change up some of the inventory that we've showed the past couple of days. So here I have a couple of pictures. So we do have a wide variety of AAC devices. I know that Libby's friends had talked about, having quite a few requests for those. We try to cover a gambit of low to high tech. So this picture I have here is the PRC Via Pro. We also have Dynavox and some other Tobii Dynavox, as well as some other vendors as well. So we are not, one device to rule them all or anything like that. So we do try to keep a wide variety of those types of devices, because those can be very difficult to attain a loaner to make sure that that's a good fit for your client to communicate with. Up at the top here, we're really excited. We've been building up our adapted sports and recreation equipment. So the picture at the top is just an example of a fishing rod, and I'm really hoping the construction isn't too loud in the background for everybody, because they've decided to start jackhammering again right behind my office. But this is a fishing rod that is held onto the person's leg or onto their wheelchair. There's also a version that is good for people who are standing, and maybe they don't have the strength or the motor control to really hold on to the fishing rod and to manipulate the line and the string. So we've been building up a wide variety of those different types of pieces of equipment. And then down at the bottom here, I just put one of our scanning pens, which are just, again, very useful tools for people who need that auditory support when they're reading text, where they would just scan the pen over the text, and then it will read it back to them. It will also have features like dictionaries, a really useful tool for people who are struggling with reading. Maybe they need some assistance in that decoding, or also if they're doing second language learning, and this is a great opportunity and way for them to beef up those literacy skills. All right, let me get to the next slide. Yes, and I will have emails and everything at the end. The specific smart pen that I had listed here, this one is called a Scan Marker. This is the Scan Marker Pro, and we actually have a couple different ones in our library. So we have the Scan Marker, we also have the C Pen, and there's different versions to each of those, and you'll just have to check them out in the library or give us a call. All right, for demonstrations, that's another big thing that we are up to, and in terms of impact, I think. And this is an ability or an opportunity for people to work with us directly and get some hands-on demonstrations of assistive technology to help make some decisions moving forward on maybe what types of devices they need. Sometimes we'll have people that are like, I know I need a new type of keyboard. The keyboard I have isn't really working for me. My hands hurt, I'm fatigued, or I don't feel as productive as I could be. And so we have a wide range of keyboards that people can look at, and we can talk about the different features about why you might want a split keyboard versus an ergonomic keyboard versus what a mechanical keyboard might do for you. Same thing for other types of items, where if you're just like, I know there's switches, but what's the difference between all these different switches in terms of people having alternative access? What is a proximity switch versus a mechanical switch versus a pressure switch or a sip and puff? And we can help people walk through those and get a better understanding of those different types of devices. We currently have our demonstration center open here in Homewood, and this is just the first one. We opened it up in October, and we have plans in place to start opening more across Alabama. So we'll actually have additional centers, about 4 throughout the state. So that way people aren't having to drive to central Alabama. We want to try and get this stuff out to people as fast and as convenient as we can. Okay, and these are just some demonstration examples that we have in the office. And believe me, this is not limited to, I was just trying to change up some pictures here. So we have things like adapted eating devices. So the picture I have in the center is the Obi feeding device. So this is great for people who are unable to physically feed themselves, so they can't bring that food up to their mouth. And just using a couple of switches that can be placed where it's most convenient for that person. The robot will scoop down to pick the food that they want to eat, and it will bring it right up to their mouth. And I love this picture because it's showing, this woman. She's out and about, in public with her friend in a restaurant. Very easy setup for this robot, where they were just able to, put her food in those trays, or not trays, excuse me, in the tray that has 4 compartments. And then she's able to be out with her friends, enjoying her meal. So I really liked that picture. Next, we have some different types of mobility devices. I know Ashley had featured our Firefly yesterday, which was like the scooter attachment for a manual wheelchair. And this is the Zine. We just got this in a couple weeks ago. And so this is kind of, I haven't decided, but I kind of like calling it a rollator on steroids, maybe. But what's great about the Zine is, as you can see in this picture, it is like a seated, there's a seat that the person can sit on, but it's really designed for somebody who wants to be able to, propel themselves forward in, using their legs and not having to, push on their arms, or push with their arms, excuse me. But maybe they just need some additional support to keep them balanced. When I was trying it out, I found it great where I would just have that seat at just the right level underneath me. So if I needed to rest, I wasn't sitting all the way down, but it was just enough where I could just kind of sit and actually coast a little bit on the Zine. So I would almost kind of just like a scooter, just kind of push myself forward and zoom down the halls. So we're really excited to see how people interact and find this to be a useful device for them. And then down at the bottom, I have one of our smart microwaves. And so this is in our office. And so we liked the idea of having a variety of smart devices that people can interact with and see exactly what they do. We have it hooked up to our Alexa in the office, so that way people, if they want to give commands to different things, so we have lights and things plugged in, and see how those different smart devices and smart systems work. So this was just an example of that. The Zine, yeah, let me go ahead and I'll just give you the website for the Zine. And of course it's going to autocorrect because it's thinking that's not a real website. I think I've got it, the right one. That should take you there. But it's Zeen, Z-E-E-N. So that's our library and demonstrations. And then next we have our DME reutilization. So this is our program where we have 5 partners throughout the state that essentially are hosting sites for these reutilization program. So people can bring their durable medical equipment to those sites, things like walkers, wheelchairs, shower chairs, grab bars. We've had a variety of different items that people no longer need, either because, you know, if it was a temporary injury, maybe the person who used it is no longer with them, or they no longer need it. And so it's just, you know, cluttering up their house. They don't want to put it in the trash because they know it's still good and somebody can use it. So the picture here is one of those centers. So you can see it's actually within a Goodwill. This is the We Share project that's based out of Mobile. Yes. No. Yes. Yeah, I always get them messed up. I'm sorry. Confused myself for a second. So yeah, so this is the We Share product out of Goodwill Gulf Coast down in Mobile. And so when you go to that Goodwill, there's this separate room. It's within the store, but it's got this nice little area where all those items are available. And so people can look, see if there's something that they need or if it's going to fit them. And then they just take it to the checkout counter there free of charge. And so it's just a really wonderful way for people to get access again to, you know, that durable medical equipment without having to wait, without having to worry about cost. And then this is a list of our centers. We have one in Birmingham, one in Huntsville, in Mobile, Dothan, and Montgomery. And actually, when you go to our Alabama.at for all website, we also have their information there available as well. We provide a variety of trainings. This would be one of them. We also do a monthly webinar series. I have one coming up next Tuesday. We're going to be talking about smart home devices and things to think about and consider when you're purchasing those. But really, these can consist of classes, workshops, webinars, conference sessions, and presentations that have that goal of increasing skills and knowledge and competency. And one of the things that we're really excited about that I'm going to plug right now is our Rural Roadshow. And this is our opportunity to go out into the communities that are not, you know, our big metropolitan cities or, you know, where people can really easily find services. So we are trying to find partners and locations in those more rural areas where I can essentially, this is actually what's going to happen is I'm going to load my car full of our products and devices that are available in our lending library and demonstration centers and take them to these locations and have people that have that opportunity to explore, try them out. And we're going to do it as like a mobile library as well. So that way, if there's something that you want to check out, you can just walk away with it right there without having to worry about, oh, that was great, but now I got to wait for it to, you know, get to me from Birmingham. And so if you have a particular location or somebody that can help us find those locations and help us organize those events, please reach out to me. And it looks like Kevin has dropped my email down in the chat. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
We also provide resources and information. That's really kind of our big job kind of overall is we are here to be your resource and guide for assistive technology. You know, if you have a question about something, if you want to know where to go, we're always a phone call or an email away. All right, so I just want to show you the website very, very briefly. I'm just showing you the screenshot so you know what to look for, and so I can put the website in the chat. So this is our Alabama AT for All page. So it is al.at for all, the number 4 all.com. And what that will take you to is to see what is available in terms of our demonstration center and our short-term loan program. And the reason why I like showing the screenshot to everybody is make sure you put al.at for all, because if you just put AT for all, that will actually take you to another state's website. So we use a similar platform as some of the other AT Act programs. So you want to make sure you see our blue Alabama state logo in that top left corner. So definitely please visit that. And then I just, again, when you go to that website, because this is a resource that we share with some of our other partners, you want to make sure when you're searching for items that you go to the spot where it says program and there's a drop down menu. And you want to make sure that the program you've selected is APT-AT or Accessing Potential Through Assistive Technology. And then that just makes sure that you're seeing what's in our inventory versus everyone else's inventory. All right, and then just lastly, some contacts and resources. You can find us in social media. We are on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. If you just search our full name, Accessing Potential Through Assistive Technology, that will take you to our LinkedIn and our Facebook, and then our YouTube, and I'm actually going to drop this in the chat right now. So you can find all of our videos, and actually where we'll be putting this video is on our YouTube page. I'm putting that in the chat right now. There you go. And so you can subscribe to us, and then that way, as we load up all of our webinars, including this one, all of those go into our YouTube page. And then, yeah, I think that's it. Are there any?
Okay.
I think most of our questions got answered as I was talking, but we have a few minutes, so I want to make sure, since we have these lovely community partners, if anybody has any additional questions for anybody.
I'm not seeing any of the chat. Any other questions? Jessica, thank you so much for giving us an overview there. Want to thank our friends at the Hank Poor Foundation, Libby's Friends, and Individual Family Supports of Alabama. This has been great. It's been informative for me. I think it's been informative and still will be informative online for those that access it. And again, thanks to all that participated today. And that being said, have a great week.